Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Ferrum Forge KnifeWorks Stinger. Really excited to bring this to you guys because I'm excited for two reasons, actually. First of all, it's pretty inexpensive, 90 bucks. Not bad at all for what you're getting. It's got a pretty unique blade steel. It's Nitro V. That's the second reason I'm excited. I have another knife in Nitro V. I really like it. I did try and do a bit more research this time because the second knife I reviewed with Nitro V. It's a steel that you see a lot more, I think, on fixed blades than you do on folders, but it's pretty similar in composition to something like 14C28N, as the Nitro name indicates. It has a lot of nitrogen in it, so it's supposed to be pretty corrosion resistant. And I will say on my other knife that has this steel, which we'll see when we do size comparisons, I have sharpened them before, and it's pretty easy to sharpen, and it takes a screaming edge, and it holds it plenty well enough for me, especially in this $90 price range. If this was the Civivi/We conglomerate who built this, if it was the 9CR18 MOV, I'd be completely fine with that as well. But it's just kind of cool that it's a bit unique. I do like that a lot. I like the looks of it a whole lot. I just like the general shape. This is based off of a model that Ferrum Forge has built previously in other forms. There was a custom. I think there was kind of a mid-techy one, if I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I know there was a Stinger XL. They were very expensive. This is obviously not. Like I said, $90 for this G10 one. There was a carbon fiber scaled version that was 110. Those are usually available only on the Ferrum Forge website, and they're kind of one and done, like part of the first run or whatever. Those are gone at the moment on there, so I think those are probably done. I'll show you what that finish looks like, though, because I'm going to compare it to another Ferrum Forge that I have with the same finish on it. I opted for the G10 one, which is why it took a little bit longer to get it. They released the carbon fiber ones first, which totally understand that because it's kind of the exclusive to them. They are available on Blade HQ as well. And this comes in black, tan, or green. So go check those out at your favorite knife retailer or wherever. I don't know if any places get them other than Blade HQ, but G10 backspacer, slightly proud liners, but I think it's a really great look, and you'll see when we get there. It doesn't really affect the ergos at all on this knife, so doesn't bother me a bit. There we go. Words, Brian. I also like this little fuller instead of a deployment hole. I just think it looks classy as hell on this. It just looks cool. Maybe mean, not classy. It just looks mean as hell. Yeah, I just like the way it looks. Nice little small deep carry pocket clip with a recessed screw. Yay! Let's do some specs and size comparisons before we get too much farther here. I'm trying to line it up here. These are all 1/2 inch squares. You have a blade length of 3 1/4 inches, overall length of 7 1/4 inches, blade thickness pretty thin, 0.12 inches, handle thickness of 0.4 inches, and a weight of 2.54 ounces. And they get the golf clap because that's what they said and that's what it weighs. Now move on to the size comparisons. We have your Spyderco Para 3. Always try and line up the pivots on these. You have your Spyderco Paramilitary 2. So you can see it's much closer to Para 3 size. We're going to do quite a few size comparisons because there's some other interesting ones to compare it to, and it is kind of a new knife. So, and then for our second pairing, we're going to use the Benchmade full-size Griptilian. A little bit smaller than that. And the full-size Benchmade Bug Out. Very similar in overall length to the Benchmade Bug Out, and which would make sense because they have almost identical blade sizes. Now some more kind of unique stuff. Let's start off with a couple of Ferrum Forge designs. How about that? We have the Mini Archbishop and the Protec Drop Ferrum Forge Mordax, the very long named one. You can see much smaller than the Mordax, a little bigger than the Mini Archbishop. So this is the carbon fiber finish I was talking about when they do it. I'm not blown away by it. That's why I went with the G10 this time. So if you missed out on the carbon, I wouldn't be too upset about it. It's not the best carbon fiber finish in the world anyway. It's kind of shiny and not horribly expensive looking. I wouldn't just get the G10 and don't feel bad that you missed out. And if you get the tan one and you want to RIT dye stuff, super easy to RIT dye the tan. And then a couple more I wanted to show. This is one that I recently got also that is kind of reminds me of. This is the Mass Drop Chase. I know this is a little smaller, but I don't know. They just seem to be kind of in that same sort of use range. That's the LC201. And this is the other Nitro V knife I have. This is the Mass Drop Perpetua, built by Millet Knives. And this one I have not sharpened because this is my second one. The first one I had, I did sharpen a few times, and it's super easy to sharpen. So this was my other experience with Nitro V Steel. That's why I'm bringing it out. I really like it to sharpen. I think it sharpens up really, really nice. And like I said, I think it holds an edge plenty fine. So now let's talk about individual aspects of this knife. And since I just mentioned the edge, yeah, the edge on this thing is really good, as you'd expect from the Civivi Wii conglomerate, as I called it. 16 thousandths behind the edge, full flat grind up into not much blade thickness. Yeah, this thing slices razor sharp out of the box. Great edge, as Civivis always have. I'm going to call this more a Civivi than a Wii because it does have a lot more Civivi type qualities than Wii's. Yeah, I really, really like the way this stuff sharpens up, and I really like the edge on this. It is a slicing machine. Really, really enjoy the blade. The tip on it is a bit dainty, though. If I have one complaint, yeah, you're not going to want to stab into too much of this, but it's not crazy thin, but it isn't too thick at all. But really like the finish on it as well. It's got that kind of, I don't know, I never know what to call it. Like somebody said it's chemical blasted, but I don't know if it's a polished bead blast. I don't know what it is that Civivi does, but it looks good to me. I have no problems with it, and it holds up well. So can't complain there. Ergonomically, this thing is excellent. It has just the right amount of jimping, and it's not too extreme. This little small pocket clip is plenty big enough to hold in the pocket. We'll get to that here in a minute, but it doesn't cause, no matter where you grip it, no hot spots whatsoever. And again, I really like that jimping. I like that they went a bit farther forward on it. Sometimes companies get a bit too minimalistic with the jimping, and it works well if you don't choke up, and when you choke up, you're way up here. No, this works really well. It's just, I really enjoy it. Ergonomically, outstanding. It's just a very, very, very comfortable knife to use. And as far as the carry goes, again, that nice minimalist clip, but it's plenty enough. It doesn't need more than that. It's not a big, heavy knife. And goes in and out of the pocket pretty well. Pocket tension's pretty high. If you want to back it off a little bit, you can, but I didn't really feel a need to. The ramp on it is pretty good. And again, this does not look like a knife in your pocket. Then no one would guess that that's a knife. And I think that's a very good thing. When you go to slide your hand past it, yes, that flipper tab does stick out a little bit. But it doesn't really have any like jimping that's going to bother you sliding your hand past it, and it's such a thin handle that it kind of just rotates out of the way. So I'm not going to call it, a Nick Shabazz pocket pecker. It's there. You can feel it touching your pinky, but it isn't horrible. And it's so light and so thin. It's really, really nice to carry. And the action, I know I say this all the time, but yeah, it's a Civivi. It's great. I don't know what else to tell you. They're always good. I've done nothing to this except for flip it probably 75, 80 times. And yep, tiny little wrist flick and it drops. And yes, that fuller is enough that you can grab it. You can spidey flick it. It's, again, the tripod next to me, but it's not bad at all. You can thumb flick it. I'm somehow worse at thumb flicking than spidey flicking. I don't know. I think I have a weird affliction. But I got that first try. But yeah, you can do all those things with it. It's primarily a flipper, though, let's be honest. Like I said, it does have that jimping on there, but it doesn't bother you when it's sliding out of the pocket. So overall conclusions are I'm really liking this. I'm really liking this. And I'm reminded of the fact that it's under $100. And that is my line for budget knife of the year. At the end of the year, I make it $100 and under. So this is in the running. This year's knife of the year stuff for budget knife and not so budget knife, man, it's gonna be a bloodbath. There have been so many good knives come out this year, but this really does stick out right now. I'm already thinking about that because it's August, 2/3 of the way through the year. Thank God, get this year over with. But this is in my mind already for budget knife of the year. It is just really, really cool. And I liked it as Nitro V just to throw that little bit of uniqueness into it. You can argue all day long whether or not it's better than the 9CR or whether or not it's better than just using 14C28, but it's unique anyway. And I don't think it's any worse for sure. So I think it was a really cool choice to go Nitro V. Just, yeah, give me something a bit unique. It's a Ferrum Forge. It's not a Civivi. It's not a Civivi by Ferrum Forge. There are some Civivis and Wiis that are. I have a Mordax and I have the Malice, and also they did this. Did the Odium just came out with Civivi? So, but this is not a Civivi designed by Ferrum Forge. This is a Ferrum Forge. So that makes it a bit unique, and it's got a Nitro V blade. I just think it's a really cool budget option if you just want something really unique. And I said the same thing, about the mini Archbishop that I had out earlier. It's the same kind of thing. You're getting a Ferrum Forge for a really good price, and that's cool. And I think that's reason enough to maybe choose it over something else in the same sort of price range, because Ferrum Forge is a cool company. Those two handsome lads make amazing knives, and you get to have something with Ferrum Forge's actual name on it. I think that's pretty neat. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.